Couple other things that water can do due to its hydrogen bonding ability are these terms up here. Water exhibits high degrees of cohesion, adhesion, and surface tension. So this diagram here is trying to show a little bit of all those things. Cohesion, first of all, this is the ability of water molecules to stick to each other. So all these hydrogen bonds in here that are going between individual water molecules, this is cohesion. And you can see this when you spill water. It doesn't just run everywhere. If you just spill a little bit, it makes a little domey drop. And the reason for that is that the water molecules in that little droplet are attracting to each other. So they're kind of clinging to each other and they're not spreading out necessarily very easily. So that's cohesion, the ability of water to stick to itself. Adhesion is the ability or the tendency of water to stick to a surface. So these hydrogen bonds here showing how these molecules are attracted to the surface of this container. This would be adhesion. You can kind of experience that if you try and like pour something out of a pan that doesn't have a proper lip on it. The water molecules kind of pour out and then they stick and they dribble down the side of the pan, or like a bottle of wine, you can never get it out cleanly. It always drips down the side. That's adhesion. There are some partial charges on the surface of the glass or the surface of the container, and the water molecules are being attracted to that and they're sticking to the surface. So that's adhesion. And then last but not least, we have surface tension. And surface tension talks about these attractions that are happening across the surface of the water between these molecules that are at the top here. And they create a kind of skin along the surface of the water where all the water molecules are pulling on each other and sort of attracted. And for us, you know, humans, I can put my finger through into a pool, a swimming pool, right through the surface, or into a bathtub. It's not hard for me to break through these hydrogen bonds. I can break through those pretty easily because I have strong muscles, and these aren't very strong attractions. It's like weak magnets I can pull apart very easily. But if I was little and very, very light, like this tiny little water strider, I don't weigh very much at all. And in fact, I'm so light that I can't even separate the water molecules. And you can see where these guys and girls are sitting on the surface of the water. They're not heavy enough to separate those water molecules from each other, and they're standing on this kind of trampoline made by hydrogen bonding. So that is surface tension. Okay. There we go. The last thing I want to talk about on this one, why is cohesion and adhesion important? We know our surface tension is important. We can see how it makes a surface on water for insects. Cohesion and adhesion play a role in many forms of transport. One thing specifically is in plants. So if you ever wondered how, like a tree, for example, if I'm going to draw a really tall, like a sequoia tree, tallest tree in the world, right? I see some bad artwork here. So here's a big sequoia tree. And every single leaf in this tree needs water, has to have water. However, plants cannot get water. Most plants can't get water directly from the rain that falls on them. They have to get the water from the soil. So they rely on water that's coming out of the soil, and the water goes up into the roots of the plant and then up through the plant in these tiny, tiny, tiny tubes. So I'm going to draw like a leaf up here. Now I know sequoia leaves don't look like this, but this is the easiest kind of leaf to draw. All right. So, and the roots are all down here into the soil. And running up through this tree are tiny, thousands of tiny little tubes, like tiny, tiny, tiny little straws. And they go all the way up the trunk of the tree. They're really thin, so this is not to scale, this is too fat. And then they branch off and they go down every single branch and every single twig all the way into the leaf, just like this one does. And then the leaf has little pores on it, which are basically the, hold on, here comes my tube. And on the surface of the leaf, there are little pores, like little holes. So this is like a giant straw, really long straw that runs from the bottom of the tree all the way up to the top of the tree. And water molecules go in the bottom. And by capillary action, they kind of stick to the inside surfaces of these tubes. And there's water molecules all the way up inside, like a giant column of water molecules all the way here until here. Now, when the wind blows past this leaf, one of these water molecules gets blown out. Off it goes. And as it gets blown out, it's attracted to the one behind it. And it pulls that water molecule up, which in turn pulls the next one behind it up, which pulls the next one behind it up, which pulls the next one behind it up. And eventually it pulls in all the way, this goes all the way down the train, all the way down to the bottom, and a new water molecule gets pulled in the bottom. So water molecules are basically pulled all the way up these tubes, and every time one exits from the leaf, another one gets pulled in the bottom. And this is all happening due to the cohesion of the water molecules in this column of water through the tree. So if it wasn't for cohesion and adhesion, you'd not be able to get water molecules up to the top of a tree. There is no pump, there's no heart, there's nothing pumping this water up. It's just happening based on the pulling and the attraction of these water molecules in these tiny, tiny tubes. And without plants, trees, plants, crops, or anything, there would be no animals, no no humans on the surface of on the planet. So we'll get more into that later in this class, but that's why cohesion and adhesion might not seem important, but they allow plants to grow and get big and then provide food for everything else on the planet. So it's super, super important.